All right, what's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to be doing a review for Luke Cage Season 2. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, I almost forgot that this thing was coming on. I wouldn't have known that Season 2 of Luke Cage was coming on if it wasn't for me looking at a IGN article. I don't even think Netflix was really advertising this season. I swear I didn't see any advertisements on the computer or even, when I'm watching television and stuff. Like, it's weird. Because I think there were a lot of people that didn't even know this was dropping this week. But yeah, we're going to be reviewing season 2 of Luke Cage today. And I got to say, overall, I am a bit disappointed, and I kind of agree with the reviews out there. I haven't read any of the reviews, but I've seen some of the things that they have said. I haven't read the whole thing or anything, or like a lot of the reviews or whatever. But from what I'm hearing, this season isn't getting a lot of glowing reviews. Whereas the first season was, I think the first season was, for the most part, it was critically and audience wise, it was critically well received, and the audience, especially the black audience, they liked it, and I can really say that season one was definitely better than season two. I actually did a review of season one of Luke Cage, and I'll probably put that in the description, and probably have the review for season one as a annotation for this video. So if you want to check that out, but overall, I was a bit disappointed by this season. Just like with Jessica Jones season two, that also dropped this year. I'm very disappointed in this season for multiple reasons that I'm going to get into in this review. But first things first, let me go ahead and say rest in peace to what's his name, Reggie Caffey. So for those of you guys who don't know, Reggie Caffey, he died of lung cancer, and he played James Lucas on this season, who is Luke Cage's father. And I won't be going into a lot of spoilers or anything in this review. So feel free to watch if you haven't seen this season. I'm not going to go into spoilers. I'm gonna try to do this review. So the way I'm gonna try to do this review is I'm gonna try to be as I'm gonna try to be as general as possible. I'm not gonna really talk about a lot of the things that happen in this season, so that you can go into this season, not really knowing a lot about it and be able to be surprised by some things and stuff like that. But just overall thoughts on this season. So first thing I want to point out is, just like in the last season, there was this emphasis on black music, and when it comes to the soundtrack and stuff, they really wanted to emphasize rap music and jazz, music that really music that black people are identified by, both in like the past and modern times. So with last season, we got introduced to Harlem's Paradise, which was the club that Cottonmouth and Black Mariah that they ran. And in this season, I thought that in comparison to last season, I liked a lot of the music that was being played at the club. I liked a lot of the music from last season compared to this season. And actually, overall, I think last season was a bit better when it comes to the musical selection. And just like with last season, all the episodes, like every episode, is named after a song. It's named after a song by some rappers, and I can't remember who was the group or the artist that the episode titles were named after for last season. But this season, so like for this season, every episode was named after a Pete Rock and CL Smooth song. And I'll be honest, I've never heard of these guys. I've probably heard of a lot of their songs, but I've never really heard of them by name. But like I said, I feel like the musical is, as far as the musical selection goes, I felt like I liked last season a lot better. I think they leaned too much into rap music, and I hate when, and I'm not gonna try to get sidetracked when I'm about to talk about this, but like it's kind of like in the Defenders series. If you watch that, they lean too much into like the rap music, into a lot of the rap music, and that I feel like when they were focusing on Luke Cage and that, and so I feel like they were doing the same with this. Like I said, they lean too much into the rap music. I like more of the jazz and more of the other types of music that they were playing there. That's what I personally preferred last season and this season. Uh, Something I do gotta mention before I kind of move off of just talking about the music and everything is just the fact that this season does a lot of the crap that I really hate. A lot of like when a lot of movies and like TV shows does a certain thing where like they'll play a song, and the song that they're playing is like talking about the events of the season or the events of the show or like people's actions and stuff. Especially when the song is talking about stuff that is like happening on the screen at the same time as the song. That just like takes me out of it, and it like I'm not gonna really take off points for that. Like, I'm not gonna really take off points for that particular thing because I guess it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I don't really like when shows and like movies do that, but it kind of took me out of it. And there's actually a lot of things. I feel like there's a lot of things in this season to hate. There's a lot of things in this season to hate. There's also a lot of things to love. I feel like there was a lot of things that kind of took me out of the experience of watching the show. But here's what I will say. Just overall, I thought the fights were better. I think a lot of people's complaint with like the first season was when it came to the fighting. Luke Cage. Mostly in season one, he was throwing people around and stuff. And I can say this to their credit. Luke Cage did more than just tossing people around. I will say this: the new villain for this season, Bushmaster. I like his fighting style. His fighting style was cool. He kind of reminded me of Eddie Goro. If you've ever played Tekken, he kind of reminded me of Eddie Goro from Tekken. The way he's kind of moving around and flipping, almost like he's breakdancing. Like the way he's fighting. Like I like his fighting style. But as far as Bushmaster goes, kind of, I'm not gonna get into his the details about his past and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm gonna try to keep this thing spoiler free, but I'm probably gonna mention Bushmaster again in this review later on. I will say also, the acting was still good. I thought there was some pretty good performances. I will say that there are a lot of extras, and normally I don't really notice this, but there's a lot of extras that I felt like were a bit too distracting in some of the scenes, especially at like some of the scenes in like the nightclub, and then some of the scenes where like Luke Cage is like he's walking on the street and everything. Some of the extras were kind of doing a little bit too much. Maybe it's just me. But I'm not gonna knock off points for that. One thing I will say, one thing that I feel like is going to be a detriment to a lot of people when it comes to just enjoying this season is the fact that, okay, we have our antagonist, the antagonist for this season, the main villain is Bushmaster, and Bushmaster is Jamaican. His whole crew is Jamaican, and so like the Jamaican accents kind of made it hard to understand a lot of the dialogue. And what I had to do, I had to like rewind. I had to rewind a lot of times. I had to go back, and I just hate when I have to do that. And I kind of don't want to take all points for that because that's what the character is. He's a Jamaican character, and they do that thing where they do this thing where a lot of shows do this where like the show will acknowledge like some of the faults of the episode or like the movie or whatever you're watching. So like there's a few scenes in this where like characters are joking and they're like, I couldn't even understand what he was saying or whatever. Like a character actually says that in the show. They say something like that in the show, and that doesn't really give you the excuse. Like again, I'm not gonna really take off points for that, but it was just something that kind of hurt my experience with just the kind of the Jamaican accents kind of made it hard to understand what Bushmaster and a lot of other characters were saying. So I was kind of having to a lot of times I was either having to rewind or just like fill in the blanks, but like I said, the acting was still good. I thought that Mike Coulter, the guy who plays Luke Cage, I thought he still did good. Rosario Dawson comes back as what's her name? Claire Temple. She's there for a little while. There is a cameo. There's a few cameos in this that I'm not gonna spoil. Um, but I thought overall the acting was good, even for a particular character that I know a lot of people hate. And y'all gonna understand, once if you haven't seen the season yet, y'all gonna understand the character I'm talking about, the character that a lot of people hate. Y'all gonna know who I'm talking about. Even I think that actor did an okay job this time. That's all I'm gonna say. So moving on from that though, moving on from that, I also thought the writing was a bit horrible. I mean, the writing was just terrible. Let me just say that the writing was bad. I think that's the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems. It was one of the biggest problems for this season. So after last after last season, and then the Defenders. If you haven't seen the Defenders, I'm gonna kind of spoil that. I'm sorry, I got to, because basically what happens is Misty Knight. I won't talk too much about the details, the other details about the Defenders. I will say this: Misty Knight, she ends up getting her arm sliced off when she basically protects Colleen and Claire, so she gets her arm chopped off, and like throughout like I would say throughout like the first few episodes, characters actually throughout this whole thing, people are just making jokes about Misty Knight and her basically missing a limb, her basically missing her arm, and people are making all these snide remarks. They're making all these jokes that aren't really funny, or even the people at the police station. When she comes back, she goes back to work at the police station. People are just like staring at her and everything, and people are making these remarks and stuff. I'm like, the way they're acting is so childish. I'm like, who wrote this? Who wrote this? And it's not even the particular scenes at the police station. It's a lot of other characters that are just making these remarks about her missing an arm, or even when she gets the bionic arm. And this isn't a spoiler. That's not a spoiler because that was in the trailer. She gets a bionic arm. People are still talking about that crap and making these jokes and everything. It wasn't funny. It wasn't like, I thought it was very childish. Like I said, the writing is a huge problem with this season. Also, another thing. So some characters do some really stupid things. They do some really stupid things, and I wish I can go into detail, but like I said, I'm not gonna do any spoilers. I'm not gonna spoil anything. But both the heroes and the villains do some stupid things, especially Luke. I think Luke does a lot of stupid things. And another new character that gets introduced, I'm not gonna spoil who this person is, but she does a lot of stupid things. And when she first pops up, I'm thinking, oh, she gonna be smart. She's gonna know what's going on. She's gonna be smart, and she's not gonna fall into this person's trap. She's not gonna fall for all this crap. But unfortunately, this character was just written so poorly. But yeah, the characters do a lot of stupid things. Actually, for real, the characters just act so unrealistic. They act unrealistically, and here's the thing. Yes, I know this is like I noticed. I know that this is. So I know that this is it's a superhero show. At the end of the day, this is a superhero show. I get it. But here's the thing about the Marvel Netflix series is that we're supposed to be in a grounded world. This is supposed to be a grounded, like a grounded street level series. And so when you have characters acting almost like cartoons, well, not necessarily cartoons, but they're just acting unrealistically, that kind of takes you out of it. And then also, like I said, it just really bad dialogue. A lot of cheesy, a lot of on the nose stuff. And even if you want to have those, even if you want to have those heroic lines and those like on the nose stuff, you can kind of write it in a way that doesn't really take people out of it or doesn't undermine the seriousness and the fact that the show's supposed to be grounded. But another issue that I had with this season is an issue I feel like a lot of people have with a lot of these Netflix series, a lot of these Marvel Netflix series in particular. It's poorly paced. I feel like it was poorly paced. Now here's the thing, because I'm one of those people that every time one of these Marvel Netflix series drops, I usually binge watch it. And here's the thing. So this season is 13 episodes, and I feel like a lot of people complain about the length of these series. Man, excuse me. So a lot of people complain about the length of these series, right? But here's the thing, because the way that these Netflix shows, like the way that a lot of people consume these shows, we have this whole binge watching nature, and I try not to look at it, like I try not to look at these shows like if I'm gonna review one of these Netflix shows, I try to really be careful when I say this show has pacing issues, because I just watched 13 episodes in 2 days. I watched 13 episodes in 2 days. I watched like what 7 or 8 episodes yesterday and then like five today. So I try to be careful when I say that a show has pacing issues if I just marathoned a whole freaking season. But I honestly gotta say, this season had pacing issues. It's the same thing. I feel like it had the same problem that Jessica Jones season 2 had, where it's like it had this feeling of the season was basically dragging on. It was like the wheels are turning, but nothing's happening. There's like episodes where literally nothing is going on, and it gets to a point where like you want some type of resolution, like something to happen, and I feel like it's kind of hard to, like when I'm thinking about the issues when it comes to the pacing of these shows, because it's not like a show like Arrow on the CW or The Flash, where like it's these 22 episode seasons where like they have one major villain, and it feels like they just kind of padded the whole season out, because I don't think that's the case with this. At least not that much. But I feel like even if they are, because you would think the easy solution, like you would think the easy solution would be to break the season up and like have Luke Cage, like have the first part of the season focus on Black Mariah, and then the other season, and then like the other part of the season focus on a Bushmaster. But they don't do it that way. And I feel like if you're gonna have a 13 episode season, and again going back to just the way that we consume Netflix TV shows, you might want to have it to where these characters like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are fighting different villains, maybe for like 4 or 5 episodes or something. Like, I don't know. Point is that the pacing, I feel like the pacing was off. It was poorly paced, and I just gotta say this also, because I feel like a lot of these Netflix shows, they're going in, a lot of Marvel Netflix shows, they're very formulaic, and I feel like this season. So like I feel like this season it slightly went away from the formula a little bit, but it was still formulaic. Every Marvel Netflix show, it always has the same structure, and for a while now it's becoming a lot less effective. You know, when these shows first came out, like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and stuff, you couldn't see, you couldn't really see the machinery going on behind the scenes. Like you couldn't really, like stuff wasn't really predictable. You didn't really like the stuff wasn't like, I guess the best way to put it is like the crap wasn't predictable at first. You you were surprised by a lot of this stuff, like, but with the way that it is now, it's like you kind of know what you're getting into when you're looking at one of these Marvel Netflix shows. I don't care if it's The Punisher, Daredevil, Iron Fist. You'll get an episode where either the hero is running away from somebody, or they're laying low, or you'll get the villain origin episode, or you'll get that fake out where you think that this person is the villain, but no, this person is the true villain, and they've done that so many times. And you'll also get a hallway fight. But thankfully, I will say this season, like I said, I feel like this season it kind of strayed away a bit from the formula, but it didn't do enough for me to actually kind of shake things up. Because honestly, I mean, we didn't really get a hallway fight really this time. We didn't get a lot of a lot of close quarters fights like that. We didn't get a fake out this time. I mean, we didn't really get a fake out, so I'm grateful for that, because like a lot of these, a lot of the last few Marvel Netflix seasons have done this, and it's kind of getting repetitive. And I guess that's the point I was trying to make a few minutes ago, is just the fact that it's just getting a little bit too repetitive, a little bit too familiar. I think they need to shake things up, and thankfully, like I said, they didn't really follow the formula too much. But again, it was still a bit too formulaic. And last thing I gotta say is the resolution of this season. I don't like the way that they ended this season off. I don't like it at all. I don't like this new direction that they're taking with Luke Cage's character. And maybe because again, I don't. Well, I should say this. I've never read a Luke Cage comic. I don't read the comic books and nothing like that. But I don't like the way that they ended off the season. That's all I can say without spoiling it. And I will say this: Black Mariah's defeat, that was satisfying to me. But overall, I thought that Bushmaster, as far as being a new character and a new villain, um, I can kind of get where he's coming from when it comes to his backstory and everything. But I don't think he's as good as Cottonmouth. I don't think anyone really measures up to Cottonmouth, and he's kind of more on the level of a Diamondback when it comes to just how good of a villain he was. Shades, I should say this. Shades is also still in this. He's still looking like an evil version of Adam Sandler. Um, he's still in this. He's still creepy. He's still in love with Black Mariah. And something I will say, Bushmaster, like the whole time I'm looking at this dude, Bushmaster he kind of reminds me of Chris Rock. He's like an angry Jamaican version of Chris Rock. But overall, like I said, the acting was good, the fights were better, and that's really all I can say. Acting was good, fights were better. Um, yeah, I mean, but it was poorly paced. The writing was horrible, like I said. It's still a bit formulaic. So I think overall, I think the critics are right. I think for once, I gotta agree with the critics. I like to go against the critics, but I gotta agree. I gotta agree with the critics on this one. This wasn't a very good season, to be honest. I mean, I God, I wish that we could have gotten something better than this, because I was really looking forward to this, even though, like I said earlier, I totally forgot that this was coming on. But I was totally looking forward to this, when I saw the trailer and everything. But, I guess better luck next time for, season three. Hopefully season three will be better. Overall, if I had to give this season a score, I'll probably give it a 6 out of 10. That's probably the lowest I can give it, because I still like Mike Coulter as Luke Cage. I still like the performances and stuff, and I can't stress enough the how good the acting was and stuff. But overall, you could have the greatest actors in the world, but if your writing is bad, if your writing is terrible, you know, you can't really make anything good with that. I will say this, before I close out, I also gotta mention how good the lighting is. I gotta say, I gotta mention the lighting and the sets only because there are shows like Daredevil, like I guess like the first, actually yeah, like the first season and the second season of Daredevil, and I think like a few scenes in like the Defenders and Iron Fist, I felt like there were a few scenes that were like too dark, like it was not lit correctly. The lighting was bad. But I could say overall in Luke Cage, it's a lot brighter because this character isn't dark. He's not really the dark and gritty type like Jessica Jones or even Daredevil. But the way that they are taking Luke Cage now, I kind of fear that they're kind of stepping into that kind of darkness territory. But yeah, so overall, those are my thoughts on Luke Cage. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. So let me know what you guys thought about season 2 of Luke Cage. I apologize if this review was a bit too long, but I just wanted to get all my thoughts out there. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.